Canto 13. Nessus had not arrived at the far shore when we had made our way into a wood, a place unmarked by any kind of path, its leaves not green, but dingy and dull black, no slender limbs, but hunched with knots and gnarls, no hanging fruit, but sticks and poisonous thorns. Not those fierce beasts that hate the harrowed farms between Cornetto and Cecina find such tangled boles and thickets harsh with brush. Here the distinguished harpies build their nests, who chase the Trojans from the Straphades with sad announcement of the harm to come. They have broad wings, a human face and neck, claws on the foot and feathers on the paunch. They cry their wailing from those alien trees. Before you enter farther, you should know that you are not within the second round, said my good teacher, and you shall be so until you reach the horrifying sand. Keep your eyes open, then, and you'll see things which if I told you of, you'd not believe. I heard from all sides heaving cries of woe, but saw no one to make them anywhere, so I stood lost, bewildered. I believe that he believed, that I believed they came. So many voices from behind those trunks, from people hiding on account of us. And so the teacher said, if you should snap some little twig from off one of these plants, the thoughts you're thinking will be left like stumps. At that I reached my hand out gingerly, and from a thorn tree plucked a little branch, and its thick trunk cried, "Why do you hack me?" When it had darkened with its dripping blood, it cried anew, "Why do you mangle me? Isn't there any pity in your soul?" Once we were men, now we are stubs and stakes. Your hand might well have felt more sympathy, even if we had been the souls of snakes, as when you light one end of a green log, the air inside that forces its way out will squeak and sputter at the other end. So from the splintered limb came forth at once both blood and speech, at which I let it drop, and stood there like a man in fear. If he could have believed at first, O injured soul! My guide so wise responded, what he has read about only in my poetry never would have stretched his hand against you. But since the thing was unbelieved, I made him do what I myself regret. But tell him who you were to mend the deed. Maybe he'll make your memory green again, back in the world above, when he returns. You speak so sweetly, I must take the bait, the trunk replied. May it not weigh you down if I should lime myself and speak a bit. I was the guardian of Frederick's heart, the emperor's trusted man who held the keys, locking, unlocking with so soft an art. I stole most of the other courtiers from his secrets. In that glorious duty, I kept faith so well, I lost my sleep and wore my pulse away. But she who never turns her eyes from Caesar's house, the harlot envy, vice of the court and death for all mankind, inflamed against me every other soul. And the inflamed Augustus so, that my glad honors turned to mournful gloom, my spirit relishing the taste of scorn, thinking that I could flee their scorn and death, made me against myself, though just unjust. By the bizarre roots of this tree I swear, I never broke the faith I owed my Lord, so worthy to be honored by all men. If either of you go back to the world, prop up my reputation, which still lies beneath the blow that envy dealt it then. The poet paused a while, then turned to me. Since he is silent now, don't lose the time, but speak, if you would like to ask him more. But I replied, whatever you believe will satisfy me. Ask it. I cannot, such is the pity pressing on my heart. So he began, O soul locked in this cell, so may he freely do you the good turn you have requested. May it please you. Tell how the soul's grafted here inside these knobs, and if you can, if ever anyone, will shuck such knotted members and go free. Then the trunk gusted out a sigh of grief, turning the breath into a voice, and spoke. The answer to your question will be brief. When the ferocious soul that plucks itself from its own body leaves it and departs, Judge Minos sends it to this seventh shelf. Into the woods it falls, no chosen place. Wherever fortune's crossbow slings it, there it puts its roots down like the rankest weed. It shoots into a sapling, a wild plant. The harpies chew its foliage for their food, cause pain, and for that pain create a vent. We too will come to take our sloughed-off skins, but none of us will put them on again. It is not just to have what one has stripped. Here we will drag our bodies through the dust, and on this sad wood's branches they will hang, each by the thorns of its assaulting soul. We were still waiting for the broken branch, believing that he wanted to say more, when we were startled by a sudden noise, as when a hunter posting in the woods senses at once the wild boar and the chase come near. He hears the beast, the trampled brush. So look there now, two spirits at our left, naked and clawed to ribbons, hard in flight, smashing through all the thickets in the woods. The one in front, run quickly, quickly, death! The other one, who seemed to lag too far, cried out, Lano, your legs were not so deft in the tilt at the Topo riverbank. Then, failing in his breath perhaps, he made himself a tangled hideout with a bush. Behind were all the forest could contain of black bitches running in ravenous greed. As fast as greyhounds, they have slipped the chain. Into the squatting soul they sank their teeth and tore apart his muscles into shreds, then carried off those members ripped in pain. And then my escort took me by the hand and led me to the little shrub that wept for all its bloody branches torn in vain. "Oh, Jacopo," said he, "the Sant Andrea, how did it help to make a screen of me? Is it my fault you led a wicked life?" My teacher then approached the soul and said, "Who were you who through all your broken sticks puff out your sorrowing speech with drops of blood?" And he to us, "O souls who have arrived to witness the dishonor done to me, the slaughter that has torn my leaves away, gather them at the foot of this sad bush. My city changed its patron from the god of war to John the Baptist on its coins, so Mars's art will ever make her grieve. And had there been no fragments of him left in stone upon the bridge over the Arno, those citizens who built her base anew upon the ashes that Attila left, would have found all their labor was in vain. I made myself a gallows of my house. End of Canto 13.